02. Recently has been very busy, and then I had a lot of all those shooting going on, and then finally I got a chance to watch this film, which I was very excited about. It is Rurouni Kenshin, Kyoto, and The Legend Ends. I decided to do this in one part rather than two videos. It's because basically the release date between these two films are very close to each other, so I don't really see the need of, you know, split into two and then you guys have to go watch it and then like one by one. Oh well, anyway, this is a film adaptation of a late 80s and early 90s anime and manga, goes by the name Rurouni Kenshin, or better known in the West as Samurai X. Okay, so basically this film focuses on the character Kenshin, Himura Kenshin. Basically he's the remaining samurai, and now he becomes a Ronin. Basically he's a wanderer. He got no job and stuff, but he wanders the country Japan to seek peace, or rather he just walk around and then try to redeem himself. Since the first film was way back, after watching the first one 2 years ago, I was very hyped about this film, these two in fact, and I was like, whoa, there's two films coming out like in between, there's only like 1 month interval, so I was like, why not, you know, give it a try. And then I like the character a lot, I like the fight scene a lot, so I'm going to, you know, just tell you how this whole thing looks like. I'm not so sure whether or when this film will be screened in the West, but if you happen to see it on the DVD or in the theater, please go and watch it. So I'm going to start with the first one, Kyoto Fire. Kyoto Fire, basically to me, it is a huge setup. I mean, like, they spend like 2 hours to set up for the next film, which is the third one, The Legend Ends. I think it's a huge risk because many of the characters were underused. The character Kenshin was okay. You see that he's actually going through a lot in the film, but then it doesn't show the payoff at the end of the film. Then you have to look towards the next one in order to get a proper payoff. Many characters were downplayed, many characters introduced very harsh, like suddenly they just appear, poof, whoa, okay, there's this character here. So basically that's how this whole thing is. Kyoto Fire, I think, is a good film by itself, but then again it doesn't really come off as effective as a film individually, because it's a huge setup. I don't think it works that well as a trilogy, one part of the trilogy. So as it leads into The Legend Ends, in The Legend Ends, so basically Kenshin finally picks up his courage to fight off Shishio, and Shishio is one of another samurai that was left out by the new government, and he intends to fight back. He wants to conquer the entire Japan and stuff like that. One thing I don't really get it. Okay, basically you all saw the trailer. There's this battleship that Shishio actually managed to sail around, and then he's like, oh, I'm gonna conquer this world, I'm gonna conquer Japan by one warship. Seriously, one warship? That's not gonna work. As the characters got more focus, Kenshin goes through a growth that he needs to find out what is it that he's fighting for, what he's actually lagging in his fighting skills. So, well, that's for him, that's for Kenshin. And then you got his master who taught him the way of the sword and stuff like that. The master was a pretty interesting character, but I think he got a bit too little screen time. Then we have this character, ninja Aoshi. The motivation of he likes to fight, and then he's a ninja from the previous era, and then the government somewhat abandoned them in order not to leave a stain in the history, and he puts all this grief on Kenshin because he's the best samurai, he's the best swordsman in the era, in Japan, and he wants to beat him in order to prove that he's the strongest. It is a kind of an effective motivation for a character to do something in anime. I have to stress the words in anime. But when it comes to film, because you only have 2 hours to build a character, if your character is a supportive character and he got such motivation, normally it gets underplayed. So that's that. I don't think it works, but oh well. What can I say is the characters are very interesting. I think I like Kenshin and Shishio a lot. Basically, they are a dark history of what the government is trying to forget, and they are basically a pawn in a whole scheme between the old era and the new era. It kind of saddens me a little bit because in the military I've seen quite a few old soldiers when they are not combat fit, they tend to get thrown into other places, and you know, they were forgotten. And I think it is kind of sad for them because they contribute so much to the government, they contribute so much to the country, and then they were abandoned. We move on to the cinematography. Okay, as said in the 3 other previews that I did, I've mentioned about how Asians in particular see things. They look at things very differently, and I think Japanese has a very good sense of visual in cinematography in particular. It is because you don't really feel that the characters or the environment were laid up very artificially. You know, oh, there's a light over there, oh, there's something over there, the camera moves awkwardly. You always see characters being framed nicely, lighting were natural, the cinematography were good. Basically, I think for these 2 movies, they had really good cinematography, especially the battle scenes. I've never seen such good capture of sword fights in using camera. I mean, some of the times it's either very shaky or is very, you know, too smooth to feel the kind of combat that the characters were going through. And for me, this film perfectly captures the fight scenes, it perfectly captures the environment, the character was framed nicely. I think it's very brilliant. The music, I had a mixed feeling about the music actually. Basically, I like the music, the soundtrack. It has a mixture of different genre. I mean, we have Oriental music and somewhat J-rock music being put into this film. Especially J-rock, when you can hear all these soundtracks during the battle scene, and then Oriental music during the dialogue scene. I mean, it is a good mixture, but the thing I felt that it's not working because, I mean, guys, come on, it's 3 films and all 3 films use the same soundtrack. It kind of feels tired as you watch the film, especially watch the 3rd time, the 3rd movie. The music becomes very unchanged, it's very constant. You don't feel any changes in the movie anymore. So I feel that maybe they can throw in a few more different soundtracks altogether in the 2nd and the 3rd film. Don't use the same soundtrack for all 3 films. It just doesn't work, man. The plot, I feel that, as being mentioned, the 2nd movie was kind of weak because it's a very huge setup. I mean, I've never seen anyone use 2 hours to set up into the 3rd movie. It's very risky if you ask me. That's why I don't really like the 2nd one. But the 3rd one was really fantastic. I like the story, I like the characters. Characters were being portrayed nicely, and I like how they actually provide a growth for both the protagonist, the antagonist. So I actually like how they were going in the 3rd film. It is kind of a very good closure, and I think it is good. Basically, I had another thing to add on. I like how they choreograph. The choreography of the actions were really fantastic in this film. I mean, I've seen some samurai movies, even though they have very good stories, they have very good cinematography, they have very good soundtrack, but they somewhat tends to lack in the fighting choreography. I mean, as an action film, choreography tends to be a very huge component in the film. So I think this is kind of forgotten in many samurai films, but in Rurouni Kenshin, the fighting scenes were done really good. If you are that kind of people who likes fight scenes, action movies in particular, I think you should really give this movie a try. It will definitely stun you. So what I can say for this film, basically I say worth the watch. I say really worth the watch. The second one, well, you can watch it at your own pleasure. Don't be disturbed that it is a pretty bad movie. I mean, it's not bad, but it's just very slow. It's a very huge setup, very boring. The third movie will definitely blow you away. If you haven't watched the first movie, go watch it. If you haven't watched the second one, watch it, because it's a continuation to the third one, and the third one is a must watch. How much will I give? For the second movie, Kyoto Flame, I will give it 3 out of 5. For The Legend Ends, I will give it 4 out of 5. It is the kind of film that I think you should really watch. I am not so sure whether it will be screened in the West, but I think it will, since it's being distributed by Warner Brothers. Why not? Okay, anyway, this is the end of the review. If you want me to watch any films and review it, put it in the comment section below and I will take a look at it, and I will give you the Asian perspective of cinema. See you next time. Bye.